Park Columbus Day Parade. I see I'm here live now. Again, here's my photo ID from the New York City that I'm a press identification for the Bronx Post. Okay. Getting back to the Morris Park Columbus Day Parade on Sunday. It'll kick off at 12 p.m. and there will be a carnival afterwards in Loretto Park after the parade from 2 to 5 p.m. as a nor'easter dumping up to 2 inches of rain is expected in the evening on Sunday into Monday with a high of 61. And as we can see now, fall is upon us and the winter weather is not far behind. Today, my guest is Sheikh Musa Drama, a person I met in 2017, almost 10 years ago, who was hosting a Peace December dinner. And then he is also he's a leader in the Muslim community. He's the founder of Muslim Media, and he hosted a 14th Congressional District debate in 2018 where I was the moderator, and that debate seems to have changed the course of the race, which then Congressman Joe Crowley was beaten in the Democratic primary by challenger Alessandra Ocasio-Cortez, now known as Congresswoman AOC. Sheikh Musa is currently a faith advisor to current Mayor Eric Adams and was supporting Mayor Eric Adams until he announced he was ending his re-election bid for a second term as mayor of New York City. Sheikh Musa has a special announcement for this show that he would like to say about the new mayor's race without Eric Adams. So can we bring on Sheikh Musa so he can make his announcement? Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon, Sheikh Musa. I know you're a prominent Muslim leader. You were endorsing Mayor Adams, who used to run commercials until he dropped out of the race. And I understand you have an important announcement.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bob. And thank you, Mutiu. Thank you for having me here today. I am extremely excited and honored and privileged, to be making an official endorsement for our next mayor, and that is none other than Honorable Curtis Sliwa. I have admired him since I came to this country almost 40 years ago. I always love him and his dedication to improving the quality of life, especially in the neighborhoods often neglected by elected officials. And I always admire his bravery, his boldness in facing challenges, even some of the most difficult, circumstances. But I never saw him as someone in elective office until now. Now we are facing what can be termed as existential threat to the choices that we have now for our next mayor. And, transitioning from supporting Eric Adams to now supporting, Curtis Sliwa for mayor was so easy and no difficulties at all. And I am excited on your show to announce that I, along with several of my colleagues, have now officially coming to the candidacy of Curtis Sliwa.
Okay, now, former Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who basically Curtis is in the same situation that Giuliani was when Giuliani ran for mayor in 97 and won. Former Mayor Giuliani has endorsed Curtis Sliwa too, dealing a blow to independent Andrew Cuomo, because it seems that the president was pushing Rudy to endorse Cuomo. But now that he's endorsed Eric Adams, it's a different thing. The former two-term mayor blasted Mandami and Cuomo. The former governor lost the Democratic primary to Mandami in June before heading into the general election campaign as a moderate alternative to the socialist frontrunner. Giuliani said Cuomo ran a terrible campaign in the Democratic primary, lost to a 33-year-old, referring to Mandami, the Queens Assemblyman. He's also a governor who resigned in disgrace, Giuliani said, referring to Cuomo stepping down as governor while facing a slew of sexual harassment accusations. Cuomo has since then denied those claims, Giuliani also tore into Cuomo for his administration's controversial March 2020 order that directed nursing homes to accept COVID-infected patients discharged from hospitals during the peak of the pandemic shutdown. He said that led to deaths of many elderly people who were in the nursing homes, and he didn't believe that the COVID patients belonged there. Any comment on Cuomo, Sheik?
You know, I'm very excited to now have learned and come to the firm conclusion that the next most suitable and the best mayor for the city is Curtis Sliver. That I have absolutely zero doubt about it. When it comes to former governor, the challenge that he faces is that leading up to the primary, he was given more than any other candidate, perhaps in a recent mayoral elections. He was given more money than he needed. The line of endorsements from clergy, from elected officials, from unions were like from here to New Jersey. And he was sheltered and he was deemed to be unbeatable. And even on the day of the election, internal polls show that he's unbeatable. And yet he was beaten by double digit. And he was beaten while he was on the Democratic line. Imagine now he is running as an independent and the Democratic line is no longer available to him. And the numbers, the registered numbers, is not on his side. And for that reason, I think he will have a very, very tough time, to fix what was wrong during the primary and to convince, more people to come to his side. I know that those who support Mamdani will not migrate to him. And I also know that Republicans who champion public safety, quality of life, and family values will not vote for him. And conservative Democrats, like myself, have now looked at the whole gamut of, the scope of this threat that Mamdani poses and said the best bet is, the guy who has been there for generations and who's very steady, who's very consistent, and who's very well known, and who forgoes all the other New York opportunities just to serve his fellow New Yorkers. I think Como will have a hard time, but I think Sliver, as more people discover him, it will be a lot easier to migrate to his camp.
Now, the latest poll by the Hispanic Federation has Mamdani with a big lead over his opponents when it comes to Latino supporters. 48% they say for Mamdani, 24% for Cuomo, and Sliwa 14%. The poll was done after Mayor Adams announced his withdrawal. It reached 600 Latino voters, and 13% said they were still undecided. Now, there were 21 pages of questions. The poll claims to have asked 600 people. This is the poll right here from the Lake Research Partners. You could see some of the different questions now. They supposedly asked 600 people, 186 from the Bronx, 120 from Brooklyn, 120 from Manhattan, 150 from Queens. But when you see the real numbers, it's only 100 from each borough. And in the Bronx, they only asked 69 Democrats, 8 Republicans, and 22 unaffiliated, which adds up to 99 people. Now, again, when I look at these polls, I look at the back of the polls with who they're asking. And of course, when you're asking 70% of the people who are Democrats, 7 out of 10 are going to say they're supporting a Democratic candidate. Then on this poll, there were like question 10. If the election was for New York City mayor was held today and the candidates were, and they say to randomize them, Democrat Zohar Mamdani, Republican Curtis Sliwa, Independent Cuomo, and Independent Eric Adams, for whom would you vote or are you undecided? Then they say, would you support if the person's undecided, well, if you had a vote today, who would you vote for? And then they said Adams voters were re-interviewed after he dropped out, but there are only zeros for Adams with no numbers of what he originally had. And 10 questions there are policy questions, which describe that the person was asked to choose from who will protect migrants, who will protect New Yorkers from government overreach, to sharing my values, creating better jobs, among others in 21 pages. And it's interesting because question one is, before we begin, I need to know if I've reached you on a cell phone. If so, are you in a place where you can talk safely? If not, a cell phone asks, do you own a cell phone? And half of them, it depends on an average, 52 people said, yes, I can talk safely. Others had a different answer. Then the second question, just to make sure we have a representative sample, are you from a Latino, Hispanic, or Spanish-speaking background? And question three, this will be the last one I'm going to go, and please tell me which one or more of these racial or ethnic groups you identify with. It says randomize the choices and multiple responses. If other biracial or multiracial, prompt which two of the three or these do you identify with the most? And it has white, Caucasian, Black, African American, Asian, Pacific Islander, Native, Indigenous American, Middle Eastern, North African, other, and Latino Hispanic. And then it says terminate question two if not one, meaning that if they can't call, if they can't talk safely. So half of them people are already eliminated. And question three, if not three, which is the Latino or Hispanic situation. So right there, they're taking out a lot of people from this poll. So, this is what I say. You can't trust the polls. They're actually asking Democrats to make sure they get a Democratic name. And there's a little more about the mayor's race, but I think we have another important piece to talk about. The peace in Gaza. Would you like to say a few words about what's happening? Because Donald Trump on Tuesdays is talking about the tentative Israeli-Hamas peace deal, which could come in a matter of days, which means by the weekend, they say. And Trump said he will make a trip to be there for a ceremonial signing in Egypt. He doesn't want to go to Gaza. He'll likely go to Israel and Egypt on Sunday and Monday, but not to Gaza. Any words on this proposed peace in Gaza?
Yes, absolutely, and thank you for including it into this, important announcement of endorsing Curtis Sliver, because they are all in line. From former President Obama to our current governor, I have read their statements, and none of them really give credit to the current president. Now, I think what is going on in the Middle East, Holy Land to be specific, should never ever be a partisan issue. This is a humanitarian issue. And this is a defining moment that we found ourselves in, where failed U.S. presidents are now, being pretty much exposed. Whether you're Republican or Democrat or independent, it really does not matter. Credit must be given to President Trump for doing what his predecessors could not have done. Gaza, in the last 2 years, Hamas did what no other terrorist organization did in Israel. They inflicted the worst casualties to Jewish people, the worst attack to Israelis, according to the numbers since the Holocaust. And Hamas should never ever enjoy any type of shelter, protection, allyship, or any type of recognition from any segment of society, because we, the pro-Palestinians, pro-two-state solution, pro-peaceful coexistence, recognize that there's a legitimate Palestinian cause. There is, a goal to be achieved, which is two-state solution, so that whether they are children in Israel or children in Palestine, they all live in safety, in security, and they all can look forward to the future with a bright, bright, bright future ahead of them. And so what is developing now out of Trump's Gaza plan should be welcome, should be
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice, and redefines the Bronx community. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative. For businesses, politicians, and government agencies, we offer targeted advertising solutions that drive results. Amplify your message. Reach the heart of the Bronx and beyond. Our platform connects you to the community. Learn more. Email info@bronxpost.com or call 718-892-5555. Visit www.bronxpost.com for breaking news and updates. Bronx Post, changing the reality, changing the narrative.
Okay, I'm glad you're still with me, Sheikh Musa. I believe the Bronx Post is your paper that I write for. Am I correct in that? Mr. Producer, can we bring him back? Sheikh Musa, I believe the Bronx Post is your paper that I write for?
Yes, it is one of our newspapers.
And what are you looking for in the Bronx Post?
You know, Bronx County, for God's sake, is part of New York City. And for as long as I'm here, it has not been dealt in the way that it must be dealt, meaning that the privilege, the power, the safety, the economic activity, the educational attainment, you know, everything that New York is known for, Bronx is not part of it. And we're tired of it because, yes, Bronx was burning, but Bronx now is building. And there is a new attitude, there are new demographics, and there are new developments, and there's so much positive, you know, development in the Bronx, so much experience, so much excitement. You know, we are, you know, more than a quarter of a Greenland. Bronx is the greenest out of the, you know, 5 boroughs, but yet the narrative and the stereotypical association is so damaging that people don't even want to come to the Bronx. They don't want to invest in the Bronx. They don't want to live. They don't want to visit. Or even when they're visiting, they have bodyguards, for God's sake. So the reality has changed, and we want Bronx Post to now become, you know, part of changing the narrative of this negative association to the current reality that is very positive and very welcoming. And that is the objective of it.
Right, and the Bronx has 2 of the 3 largest parks in New York City, being Pelham Bay Park and Van Cortlandt Park, with Central Park being the 3rd. Well, let's move on to something else, though. State Attorney General Letitia James was indicted by a federal grand jury in the Eastern District of Virginia on Thursday afternoon on charges of mortgage fraud. According to a copy of the indictment, James is charged with 1 count of bank fraud and 1 count of making false statements to a financial institution. She's been summoned to appear in a federal courthouse in Norfolk, Virginia on October 24th. She says this is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice systems. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as Attorney General of New York State, meaning that she charged him with basically the same things. And we have our local Democratic leaders, from Kathy Hochul to the public advocate, Jumaane Williams, and others, who are saying, oh, she's right, it's false. You know, what's your opinion on the James indictment?
You know, again, I'm glad you insert that piece into it. You know, Bob, couple of days ago, you know, I had circulated a statement of position with regards to creating a new political party that we call United Centuries of America. And the reason we did that is our politics have become so partisan, so toxic, so divisive that unfortunately, President Trump, whether you like him or not, agree with him or not, Democrats don't want to even hear his name. They don't want to see him. They don't want him to be any, position of power, uh, uh, you know, primarily for partisan reasons. So he has been in court with the Democrats for the longest. He has been indicted, whatever. And unfortunately now, the table has turned, and he is now in charge. And what he has now, which he did not have before, he has people around him that love him and pretty much, would do his bidding. Whether we like it or not, whether we think it's legal or illegal, he's not in charge. And I think things will get worse as we continue on, because it was worse when he was not in the White House, but now he is back. And I think we will see a lot of his so-called enemies, in a similar positions that our AG is in.
Yes, you mentioned the starting of a new political party in New York. To become a registered political party and have a ballot line, you need an X amount of signatures, or I should say voters for that part. Now, it was Governor Andrew Cuomo that tripled that number back when the Working Families Party wouldn't endorse him. So I'm just letting you know you're going to need a lot of signatures and a lot of votes. I don't remember the exact number of votes, but you need a higher number, much higher number than before for that. I want to move on to the National Guard going into Chicago. Now, first, the federal judge okayed it. Now, a second appeals court has put a hold on it. It seems that the governor has sent troops in these, or is going to. It's the fourth deployment of National Guard troops. They cleaned up Washington, D.C. We're in Memphis. And there's two other cities that there's a hold on. Now, we have National Guard troops in New York City subways. And Governor Kathy Hochul says, I don't want any National Guard troops in New York City. Is that kind of hypocritical of the governor? Or do you think that we need National Guard troops to help? Because in the Bronx, we're getting murders almost every day. Lots of other crime, because our police precincts, the 45th and the 49th on the east side, are understaffed. We saw what happened in the 47th precinct in Haffen Park, of which the Bronx District Attorney has indicted 3 people for spraying bullets all over a park with little children in it. Any comment? Do we need the National Guard?
Let me leave the legality of it to the experts. However, about 3 weeks ago, days before the National Guards were deployed in Washington, D.C., I was in Washington, D.C., and I was at the Union Station. And the argument that President Trump made about the need for a safer Washington, D.C., better quality of life, are irrefutable. Anybody who goes to Washington, D.C. can tell you that change was needed. Whether that change should come from a National Guard or our military, that is beyond me. But I do know that a lot of these urban cities, we need a new way of dealing with public safety and quality of life. And if the governors and the mayors, unfortunately, are not able to do it, then that's why extreme measures are being, implemented. Whether they're legal or not, that is beyond me. But I welcome any measure that enhances quality of life and public safety, so that we will no longer be sitting ducks in our own cities and urban areas. And definitely, some cities do need, public safety greater than what they are right now.
Because here, I found it that Bronx District Attorney Darcel Clark announced that 9 people, including a 17-year-old and 2 16-year-olds, were indicted for their alleged involvement with 2 mass shootings on August 23rd and September 1st that left 3 people dead and 7 others wounded. Now, I'm going to switch topics again And I don't know how you're going to take this, but Jasmine Ray, the former director of the mayor's office of sports and wellness and recreation, posted on Instagram last week that she had a hidden relationship with Mayor Eric Adams, which a City Hall spokesman confirmed. It occurred about a decade ago, according to the Daily News. And there's been many other mayors going back to the 1630s, where Mayor Wooten Van Twiller of New Amsterdam, which was before New York City, had an affair. Fernando Wood, the mayor in 1855 to 1857, 1860 to 1862, wound up marrying 3 different women during his administrations. William Gaynor served as mayor from 1910 to 1913. He also had 2 different marriages. William O'Dwyer was married to a switchboard operator at Vanderbilt Hospital. His wife died of a long illness in her bed in Gracie Mansion, and he dated, model Sloane Simpson, who was a pal of Jackie Onassis Kennedy. Jimmy Walker was famous for going into philandering with chorus girls. He later left his wife for actress Betty Compton. We know that Ed Koch, who served for mayor for 3 terms, was reported involved in a long-term relationship where he served in Congress, and he asked that person to leave him because it was Richard W. Nathan, a healthcare consultant, and Koch reportedly persuaded Nathan to find work in another city to prevent a political scandal before he took office, which ended their relationship, which led to Mario Cuomo. He ran against Mario Cuomo, and Andrew Cuomo was the architect of the vote for Cuomo, not the homo, if you remember that. John Lindsay also allegedly had brief alliances, and Eric Adams has been, Rudy Giuliani was dating, having an affair with Judy Nathan while he was married, and Eric Adams has been connected to multiple women, including his partner, Tracy Collins. I'm not going to ask you for a comment on this, but we have the rise and fall of Eric Adams. In November 17, 2020, he launched his bid for mayor on a YouTube video, Rise Up. He won the Democratic primary by about 7,000 votes over Catherine Garcia in July of 2021, and was sworn in as the 110th mayor of New York, January 1st of 2022. There was a state of emergency on October 7th of 2022 as the number of recently arrived migrants in New York City soared. In July of 2023, 6 of his supporters were indicted by Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg on an alleged straw donor scheme. He's been served with a subpoena in July of 24. In September, Sheena Wright and school chancellor David Banks and Philip Banks, their homes were raided by the federal authorities. There were other charges against Adams in 2024. Governor Kathy Hochul announced steps to limit out Adams's power in February 2025. The federal corruption charges were dismissed against Adams in April of 2025. He announced in June of 2025 he launched his re-election in a bid for a rally in front of City Hall. In July of 2025, Mandami won the Democratic primary. And after ranked choice voting, since there were so many candidates, Mandami wound up with 56% to almost 44%. In August, the New York Campaign Finance Board denied him again. And recently, he reaffirmed his running for re-election on September 5th, calling Andrew Cuomo a snake and a liar. Which in a video that on September 28th that Adams dropped out of the race, he announced, and it was funny because it was in a video where Adams sat down. Do we have the Sheik back with us? Okay, well, there you are. Okay, So it's funny that he started his campaign with a video and ended it with a video. Any comments on the mayor's record? I know he's had a very good record of a lot of achievements. The city of Yes, among other things. Some people may like it, others don't. Any comments?
Absolutely. Well, the first comment is that he's innocent, and he's innocent of all the charges, and he's innocent. Number one. Number two, he has 65 years record in New York City. He served 22 years honorably with the most powerful law enforcement in the world, NYPD. He went on to represent his district in the Senate, and then he went on to become the borough president of the largest county in the nation, and he went on to become the mayor of the largest, most powerful city in the nation. What was done to his re-election was what I call swift voting. It was not about his record. It was not anything. It was swift voting. In terms of the girl who wrote the book, as we said, I'm a Muslim, but the Christians said, the one without sin, throw the first stone. So, this is nothing new, whether it is true or not. It has absolutely no effect to his character, his reputation, and his leadership. So this is the position that I took with Como, actually, because what was said about Adam in terms of, why would you run as an independent is the same argument that I'm making with Como. If Como was given all the tools he needed, and Como was told you cannot be beat, especially by DSA candidate, especially somebody who's only 33 years old, doesn't have any record, and anti-Israel, and you can also say anybody anti-Israel, anti-Semite, and absolutely you cannot be beat, and then he was beaten by double digit. That was the argument used to say Adam is a spoiler. Let Adam come out. So now Como is a spoiler. Let this race be between Mamdani, who's a socialist, who led a successful campaign of Leave It Blank, did not endorse Biden, did not vote for Biden, did not vote for Harris, and Curtis Silver, who represents a large population of unaffiliated and independents, conservative Democrats, and the Republicans. I think if it goes between Curtis Silver and Mamdani, Mamdani will not see the daylight. So what was said about Eric Adams' candidacy is now applicable to Como. Let Como come out honorably, and let Como leave this race between Silver and Mamdani will definitely be sent back to, I don't know, Quincy or maybe even Uganda.
I want to say one final thing, because you stressed your Muslim background. It's been reported that Mondami, and this will be the last item because I'm running out of time. It's been reported that, and factually shown, that Mondami supported he's a co-sponsor of a bill to allow prostitution in New York City. And what is the Muslim feeling about prostitution in New York City?
Well, I think, before I answer the question, I also want to say that I am officially endorsing, Christy Mamarato for City Council District 13 in the Bronx. Right. She has done a wonderful job. She's a champion public safety. She's answerable to constituency. She brings quality of life, and she is the real leader to be had and multiplied. So I'm endorsing her. Now, to answer your question for Mamdani, we should ask Mamdani, is prostitution okay in Islam? Is changing one's gender because that's what you choose is okay in Islam? Lot of things Mamdani espouse because of the DSA platform are antithetical to Islam, antithetical to Christianity, antithetical to the Abrahamic faith family. So the more we understand the reality that Mamdani is campaigning on, the worse it gets for him. And that is why I will play a crucial role in terms of making sure that people know, especially the Muslim community, know more about Curtis Silver's platform and legacy, and the priority versus Mamdani. Como, to me, will drop out because Como is an independent, and Como lost already and I don't think he has a chance again, despite of the special interest groups that want to make king out of him.
Yes, and Cuomo was running for governor against Carl McCall in the early 2000s and dropped out 1 week before the race because he thought he couldn't win, and obviously looks like he can't win this time. And I want to thank you, Sheikh Musa Drama, for coming on the show. And just read the Bronx Post. It's online. And I will see everybody next week here on Talking Politics. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.
Imagine a media platform that reshapes the conversation, empowers your voice.
Keep watching.